Now,
on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It is 7:06, and we are halfway through our morning show extravaganza here. And boy, things are about to get very, very busy, not just in this nation and in this campaign, but on this program. In 10 minutes, Nicole Harris, she is the chair of the Republican Party of Maryland. 7:35, Representative Mike Waltz. 8:05 brings us Neil Parrott running for the 6th District in Maryland. And then at 8:35, we're back to the Commonwealth with the Attorney General of Virginia, Jason Miyares. It's Larry O'Connor with Mercedes Schlapp. And Mercedes, we're joined now by Hans von Spakovsky. He's the manager, of course, of the Election Law Reform Initiative at the Heritage Foundation. He's a former member of the Federal Elections Commission. And also, by the way, down in Fulton County, Georgia, he used to be one of the election supervisors down there in that very important county. So, Hans, you bring so much to the table here as we are in the midst of this election season. Thank you so much for being our guest.
Larry, Mercedes, always great to talk to you.
So, listen, we're talking a lot right now about early voting. As we said, Maryland begins today. Virginia's already been doing early voting for, since September. And we're starting to see, they're not returns, but there's data coming in right now about early voting. And I wonder if you can sort of sort this through for us, because we don't know what these ballots say in terms of who they voted for, but we do know party affiliation on early votes. And what does that mean?
Well, if people vote consistently the way they did in the past, then you can, figure out
sort of
how many people are voting. Yeah, right. You can extrapolate, but remember, a certain percentage of voters do change their mind in elections, and we see that all the time with people who split their ticket. There's a lot of places in the country where, for example, someone may vote for their local state legislator who's a Democrat, but when it comes to president, they vote for a Republican. So while it can give you an indication of the way the election is going, anybody who thinks they can absolutely predict the outcome from that data is making a big mistake.
Hans, there's also this suggestion that in the past, it's not just a suggestion, it's absolute fact, that in the past, Republicans have been reluctant to participate in early voting, but they have come in overwhelmingly on Election Day, right? And Democrats have been the opposite. The trends now in many of these states see a huge explosion of early votes for Republicans compared to elections past. And that's been the result of a concerted effort from the top down of Republicans wanting to encourage that. Are they, though, undercutting their own Election Day turnout? Does this mean that on Election Day, Republican votes won't be as strong? Or and maybe it's neither, I don't know, you can tell me. Or is the assumption that even though Republicans have always had great turnout on Election Day, there's still a lot of Republican votes that don't show up on Election Day because, there's bad traffic, or they have a flat tire, or they get sick. So we're still going to see strong Republican turnout on Election Day. Do you know what I mean?
No, I think you're going to see strong turnout, but they're shifting turnout to early voting. And part of what's been going on is, I believe, is that, as you know, Democrats for years have been pushing their people to vote by mail. And Republicans are saying, well, yeah, you can vote by mail, but if you can vote early, that's preferable. And they're right, because if you're voting early, then you're voting in person, and you're putting your ballot in the ballot box. If you're voting by mail early, you're depending on the U.S. Postal Service to deliver your ballot, which isn't always gonna happen. So the best thing for people who want to vote now is go vote early in person.
So what should people be, what should all of us be concerned about with regard to the early voting versus mail-in ballots? And now some of these, I mentioned Fulton County and also Maricopa. Maricopa has now announced that they won't have their tabulations done for 10 days. In Argentina, they had their votes counted within 4 hours of their national election. Why is it Maricopa County already knows that it's going to take them 10 days to process all of these votes?
Well, because it's a badly run county. I mean, compare that to Florida, which has put in so many reforms and so many improvements that even with large numbers of people voting absentee, they come up with their results very quickly. Maricopa has had one problem after another. Remember, in one of the last elections, the machines they were using to print ballots quit working early on election day. And that is just one of many problems they've had there. It's not a well-run county, and it's the biggest county in the state of Arizona.
As Marylanders head out today for early voting, what will this process look like for them? Is there anything that they should be concerned about with regard to the early voting locations and poll watchers and all that jazz?
Well, Maryland is an overwhelmingly Democratic state. I would hope that the Republican Party has done everything it can to try to get Republican officials into the polling places because, election officials are supposed to have bipartisan teams of election officials in the polling places. And hopefully they also have observers in what are the worst polling places in the state, which are going to be places in Baltimore where you can't, you may not be able to trust that election officials are going to do the right thing.
We've got some we've got some secretaries of state, we've got some governors, and we've got some people who are affiliated with the federal Justice Department who have been pontificating out loud that Elon Musk is currently breaking federal election law because he's doing sort of a sweepstakes contest. If you're in a swing state and you register to cast a ballot, you're eligible to win $1 million. You're giving away $1 million a day for whoever wins that, that day's lottery, I guess. And there is a law that says that it's a violation to offer to pay someone to register to vote or to vote. So is Elon Musk breaking the law, Hans?
He's not, because if you very carefully look at the offer, which is no secret about it, it's up online, you're not being paid to register to vote. You're being paid to sign his petition supporting the First and Second Amendment. Yeah, one of the qualifications is that you have to be a registered voter, but he's not paying them to get registered to vote. And if this is illegal, then all of the focus groups that campaigns, pollsters, and candidates put together are also illegal. Because as you know, and Mercedes, I know, can confirm this too, when they convene focus groups of voters, registered voters, to give them, feedback on what their candidates should be saying, what's one of the qualifications for it? You got to be a registered voter. But they're not paying them to get registered. They're paying them for participating in the focus group. And if what Elon Musk is doing is illegal, well, then all these focus groups are illegals, and all the pollsters in the country are breaking the law.
So when the Secretary of State of Michigan comes out and basically says, we think this is a violation of law, when the governor of Pennsylvania says we think this is, it's not that hard. By the way, Josh Shapiro, who's now the governor of Pennsylvania, who speculated about this, he used to be the attorney general of the state of Pennsylvania. The man knows the law. So when they say this, that's an intimidation tactic, isn't it? They actually are using the cover of law here in an inappropriate way, I would think.
No, they are, because the law is very simple, very straightforward. So is the offer that was made. And Elon Musk's lawyers obviously very carefully drafted to avoid violating the law. By the way, as you know, the news is also out that the public integrity section of the U.S. Justice Department sent a letter to Elon Musk saying, well, you might be violating the law. Now, Larry, when was the last time you ever heard that the Justice Department sent the possible target of a criminal investigation a letter letting them know? I'm sure they did that for the Gambino family, right?
Yeah.
No.
Just want to give you a heads up here, guys. You might be breaking the law.
Right. And remember,
Hans.
the public integrity section is the section of the Justice Department that in 2012, a special counsel issued a 500-page report accusing the public integrity section of the worst prosecutorial misconduct in history for prosecuting Ted Stevens right before he was trying to get reelected.
That's
in
right.
a case in which they hid exculpatory evidence. Stevens was convicted, but the prosecutorial misconduct by the public integrity section was so bad that the judge, Emmett Sullivan, vacated his conviction. But of course, by then it was too late. He'd lost the election. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, I mean, it sure does, and that was under Barack Obama's reign. Didn't Barack Obama just wonder openly about why we became so divided in this country? All right, well, that's why we need to clean house at the Justice Department, Hans, and I sure hope that you're part of that process. Yeah. Hans von Spakovsky, always good to talk to you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me.
It is.
News is brought to you by Baird Financial.
It's game on in Maryland as early voting begins, well, now. And Nicole Harris is the chairwoman of the Maryland Republican Party, and she joins us now to get that early vote out. That seems to be the mantra this year, Chairwoman Harris. Early voting is here for now, whether you like it or not, so let's participate. Why is it that's so important for Republicans?
Well, it's important for Republicans because we need to make sure that we've got the turnout. And if I know that you have already voted, then I don't have to call you or text you or make sure that you are getting to the polls. And I can spend my energy on people who don't vote in every election.
Yeah. And as a party chairwoman in Maryland, I've got to think, obviously, Donald Trump, because of the electoral reality in the state of Maryland, is a bit of a long shot. But you've got a hot Senate race, and you certainly have in Congressional 6 a absolutely razor-thin race between the Republican and Democrat looking to take over that empty seat now vacated by David Trone.
Correct. I mean, the Senate seat, I mean, who would have really thought, a year ago even, that Maryland was going to be in play and that people nationally were going to be paying attention to us? But that's exactly what's happening. So the Senate seat, being able to take control of the Senate with the Republicans and to be able to grow our House majority for this next 119th Congress is so important. And Maryland is right in play.
I got to ask you, Nicole, obviously there's a ballot initiative as well, and I think the recommendation is to vote no. What is a ballot initiative is? I always know when I go into the voting booth, I'm always like, I better know what my ballot initiatives are because it could be, they put all these just, extra words in there to slip you up.
Well, question one in Maryland is a big one. Go ahead, Nicole.
Well, question one really comes down to parental rights. And it's phrased in a very weird manner that there are a lot of extra words, and people usually look at it, they read it, and they think that it means the opposite of what it really does. So read it very carefully, ask questions, call your county Republicans, call the MDGOP. We will help, inform you of what it actually means. But yes, question one, we want to make sure that we're voting no on it.
Neil Parrott is joining us coming up at 8:05. There's a recent poll out now that shows him actually taking a lead over April Delaney. It's going to be tight. And I just wonder, what is the state party doing here in terms of the ballots and the speed in which ballots come in and get validated? Because I worry about this seat. The way the lines were drawn, it was designed, as we know, to make this seat a permanent Democrat seat, and it always seems Republican seems to be in the lead and things are looking great, and then by the time all the mail-in ballots are in, you know what happens, Ms. Harris, the Democrats find enough ballots. What are we doing to make sure that we're getting this done right this time?
Well, we have our general counsel and our national committee woman, Nicole Ambrose, who have been working on election integrity, and they have been working with the RNC and other organizations to make sure that we're paying attention to that, and we have resources on the ground, counting the ballots, making sure that we are watching what's going on. But in addition to that, when it comes to one of the reasons that we're talking about voting early, voting by mail, and that kind of thing, is so that we can pay attention to this ahead of time, so that we know exactly who's been voting, and we're not behind the eight ball, so to speak, when election night rolls around.
Great point. Yeah, if you really do care about this race in Maryland 6, that's another reason to get out and vote early if you can. One last question. And listen, we've known each other for a while, and I tell it like it is, whatever possible. I got to be honest. I don't feel like Larry Hogan has made a huge pitch for Republican voters. I feel like his pitch is to Democrat voters in Maryland. So it's incumbent on you. Can you tell Republicans, the members of your party in Maryland and my party in Maryland, why they should get out there and vote for Larry Hogan?
Because there's one really important vote that Hogan will take, and that is for the majority leader. And we don't want to have Chuck Schumer there again. We must fire Chuck Schumer, which means that we need to have the majority, which means that, we're counting on Hogan to be part of the majority. That it really is the biggest thing. There will be a lot of people who will say, well, I'm voting for Trump, but Hogan, I'm not going to vote for Hogan. Hogan is going to do whatever, he can do to undermine Trump. But if you really want to support President Trump, then you will vote for Larry Hogan as well.
I get it, and it's not an easy pitch to make for you. I'm sorry that it's landed on your shoulders to make. I really wish Larry Hogan would ask for my vote. And if you, in these final 11 or 12 days, if you know anyone at the campaign, it's really important for candidates to ask for a vote. And he hasn't really asked for it.
Especially a vote of their own party. That might be a good way to start.
It should be an easy ask.
It's not
we'll
that
leave
complicated,
it there, though.
People.
I definitely understand that, and it has fallen on me to ask people to vote for Larry Hogan, at least to ask Republicans to vote for Larry Hogan. I understand that. I will convey that to the campaign. But I am asking you, if you want to support President Trump has asked for this. Please make sure and go and vote for Larry Hogan as well.
All right, Nicole Harris. I'll do it for you. I'll do it for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, it's 7:24.
Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's a super busy morning right now. It's 7:36 on O'Connor and Company. In 30 minutes, we'll talk to Neil Parrott running for Congress in Maryland. And then at 8:35, we got the Attorney General of Virginia, Jason Miyares. Mercedes Schlapp is here with me. Good morning, Mercy.
Oh, my goodness. We have not stopped talking. It's been like one crazy news story after the other.
It's a talk show, after all.
I know, but the news, some days are slow news days. This is not a slow news day. Sorry.
Well, and that brings us to our next guest. Neil Parrott, who we're going to talk to in 30 minutes, would love to be a colleague of this man. He is Congressman Mike Waltz. And your book, Hard Truths, Think and Lead Like a Green Beret, you dropped it this week. It's a really valuable book, and I really appreciate you writing it. But I got to say, you picked a hell of a week and a hell of a news cycle to try to get some attention for your book, Congressman.
Yeah, well, I'll throw that one over to the publisher. But they thought the Congressman Colonel thing in the run up to the election might work. But thanks for raising it. By the way, none of my proceeds come to me. It all goes to veterans charities for some of the Green Berets that I didn't bring home, and it's really an honor to talk about how we are different than the SEALs and the Rangers. They put bullets in bad guy foreheads, and we learn local languages, embed in tribes, get them moving in the direction America needs them to go. And I say in the book, like, the tribes of Afghanistan are easier than the tribes of the D.C. swamp, I swear.
Well, I do want to focus on that a little bit here, because that was my main takeaway. And we are going to get to the news cycle. And you've been a valuable voice in this election and on Capitol Hill about what's going on right now in the world. But to your point, I think people think of Green Berets and think of special forces and the military as sort of a Rambo thing, kill them all and sort them out later. But the one takeaway, I think the one through line in a lot of the stories that you tell here and the hard truths that you put forth in your book, Hard Truths, is about restraint, about sometimes the best decision is to actually not pull the trigger and to make the wiser choice to regroup, rethink, and then go in another direction. That's got to be a challenge for you in the world that you're living in now on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, everything is hit back and hit back hard immediately, right? But I tell a story in the book of whether, I told one of my snipers to show restraint and not kill a little boy that was calling in mortar rounds. He was forced to do so by the Taliban, or the restraint President Trump has shown in getting us into wars, or in my first campaign when I was accused of stolen valor and wanted to just smear this guy on social media and the media, and my wife and advisors said, you know what, take the higher road. And it's counterintuitive to today's political environment, but sometimes it really is the better part of valor.
Well,
Mercy, Mercedes Meredith always tells me, it's like she sometimes when she knows I'm in a mood, she says, "Can I take a look at that tweet before you send it?" Because her motto.
That's my job
motto
every day with Matt Schlapp. Are you?
Oh, I
me?
bet. Well, here's the motto. This is what Meredith says, Larry. No one has ever lost a career for the tweet they didn't send. And that's always, I always remember.
Although, I'm sure Donald Trump would argue with that statement, but that's a whole different story.
True.
But Congressman, I got to ask you, because I worked with General John Kelly. We've seen this story come out in terms of his comments about Donald Trump and Trump making these, basically admiring Hitler's generals, et cetera, et cetera. And this seems to be a, 2-week out desperation coming from the left, and then clinging on to John Kelly as saying, well, you see, Trump is going to be like Hitler. I mean, it is complete act of desperation here. I'd like to ask your opinion on this, because General John Kelly, and there is a little bit of a concern that I think that General John Kelly felt that he would make better decisions than Donald Trump. That was always my sense, especially at the end when that relationship fractured. Why did General Kelly now again is bringing up all these, Trump's going to be a Hitler or a dictator, et cetera?
Yeah, here's what we know, Mercedes. We know that the family. So there was the Hitler piece, and then there was also the family of the young soldier, the female soldier who was brutally murdered, right? And we know the attorney for that family is openly saying that the journalist Goldberg lied to her and misrepresented the story. We know that John Kelly absolutely despises, on a very personal level, Trump, and was fired, was a terrible fit. And we also know, to your point, that there were a number of people early on in his administration that thought they knew better than him, were undermining him. But really what they're doing is undermining the American people that put him there, because President Trump didn't hide anything. He tells us what he's going to do, how he's going to disrupt Washington, D.C. And we also know that the owner of the Atlantic magazine, Miss Lorraine Powell, is a huge Harris donor. And also a personal friend of hers. So the whole thing stinks. And the thing that really kind of just makes zero sense and doesn't comport with the man that I know in President Trump, Gold Star family after Gold Star family have stood up on stages and talked to the media about how compassionate, kind he is, how he cared, and he certainly didn't check his watch as the flag-draped coffins went by. And on the Hitler thing, are you kidding me? Jewish Americans are coming our way left, right, and center because of the anti-Semitism on the left. And you want to talk about fascism and pulling control kind of your way, eliminating checks and balances. How about the move to eliminate the Electoral College, to eliminate the filibuster so that they can stack the Supreme Court, which is the ultimate check on executive and legislative power. So the whole thing just stinks to high hell.
Yeah, it sounds like, Harris's platform is way more fascist-y sounding than Trump. So, I guess not to put words in your mouth, and Lord forbid I would ever do that, Congressman Waltz, so correct me, but, we, the American people, are forced to make a choice here. Are we going to believe the honor and the integrity of a retired four-star general, or are we to believe the honor and integrity of these Gold Star families and what appears to be the overwhelming opinion of the rank and file in the military? And I hate being put in that position, but it sounds like you've decided that when push comes to shove, you're down with the Gold Star families and what they saw and experienced.
With what they saw and experienced, and frankly, I have some honor and integrity and credibility as a military officer too, and I'm going to go with my own experience, which I have never even coming close to seeing President Trump do anything but go out of his way to show compassion and to honor not only our Gold Star families, like he did at Arlington National Cemetery when Kamala Harris was invited by those families and didn't show up.
Yes.
So I'll take that, and I'll also take the actions when it comes to fascism, the actions we're seeing the left take to consolidate control versus allegations of rhetoric 4 years ago. That's the choice. And I think whether it's the economy or whether it's this story, people are going to vote on actions that they're seeing that affected their lives versus words. Or allegations of words all day long.
Mike Waltz, congressman from Florida, retired Green Beret officer from the United States Army, and, of course, now author of Hard Truths, Think and Lead Like a Green Beret. In fact, I should say also a proud member of the undefeated United States Army with regard to their football team, because Navy's also undefeated. So this is going to be a hell of a end of a football season, Congressman Waltz. I know you're enjoying that, too. But I guess the election comes
Army,
first.
Navy, and D.C. It's in D.C. this year, Larry. I'll see you there. Go Army.
It's going to be fantastic. Go Navy. 7:45 WMAL traffic and weather every 10 minutes. Although, Mercy, this weekend is Navy Notre Dame. And I know
Where are they
in
playing?
New York. They're playing in New York at
You're
MetLife.
kidding.
And I know you are shaking in your boots because you know Navy's got Notre Dame.
You
this
never
year.
know with the Irish. It's always
J.B. Wittens.
Miss anything? Don't worry, we've got you covered. Get today's breaking news on the Vince Colonnese Show weekdays 3 to 6 right here on WMAL.
Well, another brain-dead celebrity has come out for Kamala Harris, and actually this one really disappoints me. You know, I'm not expecting people in Hollywood to be conservative necessarily or come out of the closet as a conservative, but there's some celebrities that I just wish they would do like what Tom Cruise does, which is just stay out of it. Don't get into politics. Don't talk about it. And so sadly, this person has really disappointed me. It's actor Michael Keaton posted a video. By the way, this was on Tim Burton's social media account. That's the famous director who did the original Batman movies with Michael Keaton. Here, take a listen to Michael Keaton.
Hey, hi, Michael. You know, for some of you folks who, guys mostly, I guess, who are thinking about attending a rally with Musk and Trump, they don't really respect you. They laugh at you behind your back. They think you're stupid. They don't want to hang out with you. They have nothing in common with you. They're not your bros. And I'm telling you, when Trump, years ago, I guess, said, I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and they'd still vote for me, basically what he's saying in parentheses is, these people are so stupid, they're so dumb, they'd still vote for me.
All right, so let's end that there real fast because you see where it's going. Isn't it amazing that he has this moment to say, I'm voting for Kamala Harris, but it's all about Trump. And it's all about this speculation and lies about Trump. And I don't, again, it's one of those things where what are you going to believe? Your own eyes or what me, a Hollywood actor, is telling you what's really going on? It treats voters like they're stupid.
Well,
Mercedes.
First of all, Michael Keaton should have worn the Batman costume. That would have been a lot more interesting. It would have made the video, I'm sure a lot more people would have watched it. But here's the deal. The reason why is that they're honing in on this mail vote is that there's actually a story out. I just read it in the Political Playbook, basically where it is like inside Trump's boy club. And Trump has really honed in on, it's interesting that just the male vote, like these. Yeah. That's why you're seeing Kamala Harris reply with this idiotic white dudes for Harris, but the white dude is actually a cross-dresser with a lot of makeup on, and it doesn't work, right?
It's a great point. Yeah, no, that's a great point. And it's really funny because the big narrative was Trump is going to lose because he can't get the white suburban women. The gender gap is hurting him with women. And their response has been, let's load up on men. And it's worked. They are overwhelming with the male side of the gender gap. And Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are underwater. All right, 7:54.